learned.
I don't know.
I learned about that's a Mortal Kombat character. I didn't know that. Apparently,
I don't know.
he's got knives for hands. That's a Mortal Kombat character.
Whoops. That's me. We're good.
What have you done? It's true though. Did you know that?
I did, but I forgot it until you told me that.
I forgot too. Chat, did you know that? Mortal Kombat character,
Yeah.
Baraka. It's a real thing, and that's what we're gonna do tonight. We may talk a little golf. You know why? Because it's the third major of the season, U.S. Open 2023. You know what time it is? It's 8 o'clock. PGA, live before lock here at Stokastic. I am Ben Raza. I am joined always by Geoff Ulrich, but we got big things on the horizon today. We can't be messing around at LA Country Club. So what do we have to do? We brought in the reinforcements tonight. We got a guest, the man himself, Brian Berryman. He is here. He's on the screen. Work with him every day behind the scenes, doing real work here at Stokastic. Sir, first, before we get into some of the cool things going on, thanks for hopping on, buddy.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Ben. Appreciate the introduction.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Obviously, Geoff, we got all the loyal listeners in chat. We're going to answer all these questions. People asking us about Griot, people asking us about Luke List. Don't worry. We've got the takes, but we're going to get things started in a little different way tonight. So I'm going to set the stage. If you've been following us on Twitter, if you've been hanging out at Stokastic, if you're a member, if you're a subscriber, you've kind of seen some of the tools we've developed for the NBA. And for baseball, these sim tools kind of been changing the game. A lot of people are very excited. True story. I was told that one day we may have this for golf. I was not told that that day is today. And that is why Brian Berryman is here. Sir, I can't be more excited. I have seen these tools for the past couple of days. I have tested them out, but I wanted you to come on to share this with everybody just because you were integral in developing these. And I know for a lot of people who are going to be interested in this, to see these things in action like we're about to, very cool. So the floor is yours. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah, awesome, Ben. Appreciate it. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brian Berryman. I am the Senior Product Manager here at Stokastic. Have had the fortunate opportunity to work on some really cool stuff since joining the company here. This product here has been my favorite by far. It is our PGA Sims tool. So I'm going to take a brief run through the tool with you guys to show you how it works. And then we can talk a little bit more about the intricacies of the platform, where you can find more details on it, etc. But before I do that, I want to give a huge shout out to our development team. They really busted their ass to get this tool out and ready to roll for the US Open. So they deserve huge props for that. Without further ado, let's get into the tool a little bit. So what you are seeing here is our Stokastic PGA Sims tool. And on this page, the first thing you're going to see here at the top is just kind of setting up your simulation. So the top of the screen, you're going to make sure you're selecting the correct league, the correct site, DK or FanDuel are both supported, as well as the correct slate. For the purposes of this demonstration, we will be going through the DK main slate. So what this tool does, you're probably wondering what it does. So essentially what you're able to do with this tool is take any denomination of those listed there, 250, 500, 1,000, 1,500, or 2,000 lineups. Create your own custom contest with those amount of lineups and upload them into the tool. From there, the tool will simulate the lineups you upload against each other 40,000 times and provide you with numerous metrics that will tell you the simulated ROI of lineups, their projected fantasy points, how often that lineup would win that contest, top 10 percentage, cash percentage. There are so many different metrics that you can view here. And it's really a groundbreaking tool because nothing like this currently exists in the industry right now. And it is taking a tool essentially that pros have been using for a long time and bringing it to you in a platform that is easy to use and very strongly developed by our both front end and back end developers. So let's take a look through this here. So you're seeing the lineups on the left-hand side. They're sorted by simulated ROI percentage. Essentially what that metric is the ROI that you could expect from that lineup if it were playing against the exact lineups that you had uploaded within your original upload. So this isn't going to say that this top lineup, you can expect 101% ROI in the actual contest you'll be uploading on DraftKings. It's just saying in relation to the other lineups that you put in, that is the ROI based across all the simulations. So what you could do, so in this example, I uploaded 1,000 lineups. I'm simulating 1,000 lineup contest. And I want to upload, or I want to favorite the top 150 lineups. You go over to the quick favorite option here on the right, and you can select any of these quick favorite options: 300, 150, 100, all the way down to 20. So for this purpose, I'm a max enterer, so I'll put in top 150 there. By clicking that, you have now favorited the top 150 lineups based on the simulated ROI column that is sorted. Now, all these columns are sorted, or can be sorted, can be filtered, can be moved around to your liking. It's all very customizable within the UI itself. But the gold standard metric here is the simulated ROI column. That is essentially ranking your lineups from best to worst. Jordan, if we can move on to the player ROI section there up top. What this column is going to do is describe to you on the player level what players contributed most to high ROI lineups as well as low ROI lineups. So this is a good way to identify some good plays based on the lineups that you uploaded, and also can help you identify some bad plays too. You can sort by that average simulated ROI column and see, who are some of the worst plays on the slate. That would help you determine those. So obviously you're seeing a lot of mixed reviews from some of these players here, but this tool, again, very powerful. If you go over to the favorites now, this will be just the same lineups that were in the front, but just filtered for your favorites only here. And then if you click exposures there at the top, this is the last tab that's going to show you all of your exposure percentages based on the lineups you favored. So of the top 150 that we favorited in this tool, we had 35% Ricky Fowler, 32% Mito Pereira, and so on down the line. We can compare that against projected fantasy points and projected ownership to get leverage as well. Couple just minor things I want to go over. So say you're looking at your exposures here and you're seeing Ricky Fowler, you have too much Ricky Fowler. You want to maybe subtract some of your exposure on that. You go into boost players and you can find Ricky Fowler and provide a negative boost for him if you'd like, and that will push those lineups further down the board for you, so you're getting less of Ricky Fowler. The same works in the inverse. If you wanted to boost a player, say you didn't get enough of a certain player that you were hoping for, you could do that as well. One last piece of this that's a very important piece, Jordan, you can exit out of the boost modal here. If you go back to the top where we're setting up the actual simulation. So there is an option because right now by default, we are using projections. That is the default option. You do have the ability to upload your own custom projections by toggling on that tool there and downloading our template to upload your own custom projections. This is obviously important if you don't want to use only one projection set, or you use your own projections, or you have an aggregate projection set you use. This allows you to upload your own projections, and the simulation will use your projections to run the 40,000 simulation. So that's an overview of the tool. Extremely, extremely powerful, unlike anything on the market right now, and something that if you're playing DFS at even a semi-serious level, you should definitely be considering to take your game to the next level.
Oh, yeah. Any tool that tells me that Ricky Fowler is going to result in good things, we know is legitimate. That was the only thing we told you that you could come on and explain this, but me and Jeff have a requirement that Ricky doesn't get, shafted on this show. We need him involved. Obviously, Brian, I know you could spend, honestly, hours. You sat with me today and we talked about this for hours, different scenarios of how can I use this for the millie? What if I want to model it against, a different type of tournament, different structures? We have so many other things like that. And the thing I just want to, it's not even really a question, but before you go and we'd start diving into these plays, I just want to kind of to echo the thing that was crazy for me. And you mentioned it, you're taking kind of a mock-up of a field with the lineups that you're putting in, and then we're simming it 40,000 times to say, okay, if this was run over and over, these are the lineups that would stand the best chance. And that to me is a fascinating angle that we just haven't seen, and why people are so excited about this.
It's wild because like we've seen things that sim the golf tournament and they tell us who's going to win, but I've never seen anything that sims a tournament like a DFS tournament. So yeah, it's something, again, if you're subscribing, like you could just spend so much time diving into this. It looks amazing, to be honest. So
real good stuff.
Yeah, and the beauty of the tool itself is it could be used however you'd like it, right? Like the way that we would recommend you use it, if you try to create a contest that's going to closely mirror or resemble the contest you actually plan on entering on DraftKings or FanDuel, right? By doing that and getting an accurate field, you're going to be getting metrics and lineup metrics, player metrics that are going to be super accurate and really aid in your decision-making process for the slate. Like Ben said, I could talk to you guys about this for hours. The nerd side of me really comes out. This is just like one of the coolest things that I've had to work on in my entire career. And yeah, I couldn't speak more highly about the product and the dev team behind it. It was amazing accomplishment for everybody.
It's great stuff. Obviously, most important part, because I know a lot of you during the show, after the show, if you say, I want to test this out, I want to try this out, I want to use this. The link is in the description of the video. Stokastic PGA Sims tool. It's right there. You can go to stokastic.com. You can't miss it. It's all over the place right now. You're going to be seeing a lot of this because we really believe, I've heard this analogy made a couple times. Beginning of DFS, the concept of using projections was this like crazy thing. And then optimizers came. And I think these type of tools are really going to become more and more prevalent. And we're so excited that we're kind of breaking new ground here. So again, just awesome stuff. If you want to get more information, you can always follow. Tell the people I would say your Twitter name, but I can't really see. What is that? 13
Yeah.
Berryman?
No, so it's just my last name, Berryman, but instead of the B, it's a 1-3. So if you look at it, it's kind of creative. It makes the 1-3 makes a B. I mean, it's not really creative, but it's a little play on words there. My favorite number is 13. So but yeah, follow me on Twitter. If you guys have any questions, DM me, or, there's plenty of ways to get a hold of me, in the Discord as well. My username is NDIrich13. So you can find me there as well. But yeah, any way I can help, let me know, and I'd be happy to assist you guys.
Appreciate you stopping on, my friend. Thank you, sir. All right.
You guys, you got it, man. Have a good show.
Have a good one. I have one other thing that I'm going to get to, and then don't worry. I see chat saying, let's get to it. We're going to get to it.
Yeah, you guys, Brian's going to be like your favorite person. And like,
relax. We got all night, my friends. we have worked hard on these tools. Bet365 I actually don't know how hard they worked to get into Iowa, but they are in Iowa right now, and they join New Jersey, Colorado, Virginia, and Ohio. So if you're there, again, that link is below too. Turn a buck into a couple hundred, turn a buck into 365 at Iowa. Just a really cool opportunity if you're betting. We're going to talk about some of our favorite bets tonight because it's the US Open, but we're going to get down to business right now with plays with LA Country Club, because only Jordan Klein knows about this course, allegedly. We're going to do a 2-second recap of Canada just because. Tommy Fleetwood, man, how does he not birdie 18? I really thought he had it after he started rolling those in. Did you not?
I mean, look, I thought that was it. I thought finally I was going to clear the Fleetwood hurdle. That part of my life was going to be free and clear. I'd have the winnings in my bank account, the actual show that I profited off this guy. And then, I mean, look, we could do the whole show about how he played 18. I still just don't know what he was thinking when he laid up in regulation. I have no idea. I'll never know. No one cares about it anymore except me. So, but yeah, that was wild, man. I mean, I just don't know what he was doing on 18. That hole just completely perplexed him, or he panicked, and Nick Taylor eventually just took the door. I mean, just busted through the door. So it sucked. He played really good. Tommy Fleetwood's really, really playing well right now. He should have won. I should have cashed it. I had to hedge out, but it is what it is, man. It's golf betting. The last 3 weeks have been absolutely wild, Ben, and I'm dead honest. I think this week's going to be just as wild. I'm really looking forward to it. So
I'm super pumped too. I really am. It's just going to be nuts. I didn't even have the full outright on him. Listen, you lay up and you put it in the middle of the fairway, you stick it to 6 feet, no one questions it. but to miss the fairway on the layup is inexcusable. If you lay up, you have to 100% of the time land it to your number and then give yourself a shot. I'll never understand how you could lay up with a chance to miss the fairway. I don't understand
the way the course was playing, the way that hole plays, you just pound it to the back of the green and you just chip to within like 10 feet, probably closer. So, but I don't know.
That is true. Michael Block isn't here, but there are some names in this field that aren't real people. And maybe they are. Maybe Bastian Amat is a real person, and Corey Pereira, who is a doppelganger. We're not going to spend a ton of time on them. We're going to talk about that also. And don't worry, LA Country Club is next. But I got to shout out Rainmakers. They sponsor this show. Did a show with Eric yesterday. Starter pack is below. I'll keep it very simple. If you're getting involved, always get the free packs. And the free pack is below. A lot of money to be made in those streets. The reason I'm most excited, though, for this tournament, I think this course is pretty sick. I like what I see. I think it's a different type of test. Somehow there are 300-yard par threes and like 70-yard par threes. I'm exaggerating a little on both sides, but you get the gist. First
Not
questions. Yeah, not much. Do you like the setup and how difficult? Because that's the question everyone's asking.
Yeah.
Is the winner +2 or is the winner -11?
You know, the thing is, everyone's saying, oh, this might be easier. If you look at the course, it really, I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw Pinehurst #2 in Chambers Bay. And the winning scores there were well under 10 under par. Pinehurst #2 played extremely difficult. Just Myron Keimer went absolutely bananas that week. Everyone else was like -2. Chambers Bay was difficult all week. I think it's going to be super tricky. I think it's going to really frustrate some players. But I do think what you're going to see is really, really varied scoring. I think there are going to be people who come here, look fine, everything was going well, and they're just going to bomb out because they just get frustrated with one part of their game. They can't figure it out. And I think that there's going to be low scores as well. I think there's going to be a huge variance of scoring. You mentioned the variety of holes too. There's scoreable holes here, but all holes, I think bogey is available, even on the longer ones. But I also think that there's birdies out there too. So I just think you're going to see a huge variety of scoring. I'm thinking -8. And someone will probably get there and win. But yeah, I like this. This looks good. This looks like it's going to be a really good setup. Some of these older courses can get really boring with the thick rough, and it's just like 4 guys who can actually compete. It's like Brooks, Bryson, and like, you know, whoever else is playing well, Alexander, and that's it. The whole field's in play this week. I really do believe that, and I think that's going to make it a great US Open.
It's, from everything I've seen, second shot course. But you also can, if you want to, you know, you put it out there particularly straight, you're going to be able to score. What I like, and again, we don't know, but I've seen from several sources that I trust, like in terms of reporting about the course, you can score here and you can also be punished. Like I've seen people say the spread of best to worst round could be 20+ strokes in days. And I like that. Like 64 is out there, I think.
Absolutely. And again, I come back to Chambers Bay. Everyone hated that US Open, but that's exactly what we got there. And it was one of the most exciting US Opens because people were literally like, Louis opened with a 77 at that event, and he came to the 72nd hole with a chance to win. Like, that's the kind of variety of scoring you're going to get. So I think it's going to be super tilting. You're probably going to wake up tomorrow and somebody that everyone liked, that you were like, oh, this guy's going to be fine. He's going to be like 7 over par. And you're going to be like, what the actual fuck is going on? But that's going to also make it really interesting. There's going to be guys who get way out of it early, I think, and potentially come back. So yeah, that's the vibe we're getting. It's definitely going to be a different setup. And I think that the greens are also, you're just going to see them roll faster and faster as the week goes on.
I mean, this is such a difficult cut. Like 6 of 6, you get 6 of 6 here, you're doing something. This is not insert random thing where it's like 27% 6 of 6. You get 6 of 6 here, it's real.
You get a 6 of 6 lineup through, you're probably going to be live. It's the US Open. It's top 60 and ties. Yeah, that's your goal this week. Like, really, it is. I mean, I know it's a goal every week, but this week especially, you get them through. You're going to be live. I've seen US Opens in the past, 2%, 3%. Yeah, it gets real low when you get 6 of 6 through. So it just makes it a good sweat. I mean, yeah, you could be done by Friday, but there's always showdown live betting too. So.
Oh, there's plenty.
Yeah.
And I will say, I probably should have just left it with like 6-6 year live, but I had one good US Open, and I had 6-6, and I swear to God, my team, you would have been better with 4 of 6 because it played so hard. I think it was the Shinnecock year. Just forget it.
Right.
In theory, we want those guys through the cut. Now we just have to figure out how to do that. Let's do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler. The guy is breaking courses tee to green. It's unreal. I'm not a Scheffler guy, and I can't deny when he gained 20 strokes tee to green in Memorial. 20 strokes. You got John Rahm. Brooks is Brooks, built for this. Patrick Cantlay, one of the many guys that if you're going to say they're familiar with the course, he's in there. And then Hovland, who just won at Memorial. You got 5 north of 10. Of course, you can play any of them. They all make sense. But who do you want to play?
Yeah. Okay. So I've talked so much about Scotty Scheffler this week. I mean, it's just repetitive. I mean, he's on another level right now. Like he's on the celestial plane. I mean, just in terms of his long game, but he does have something he's got to figure out. I mean, if his putter doesn't show up again, I don't think it's going to go that bad for Scheffler on these greens that like all of a sudden you'd find him not making the cut, but he's, if he wants to break through, the putts have to fall at some point. So I would just lock him in. For Scheffler, for DFS purposes, I would just get my field average at the very least, and then move on and think about what I'm going to do with the rest of them. That's just how good he's playing. I just don't think that you can realistically come up with a great argument for fading him because of how soft the pricing is, right? This is, to me, the softest pricing we've had all year, which is typical for a major, but also just makes it so easy to fit him in. So Scheffler, to me, you want to say I'm going to go 100%, that's fine. But like, I'm just saying the baseline to me would just be get some exposure, like try and be field average and then make some decisions. Brooks is the guy who I feel like, again, I mentioned this in chat, I'm just kind of scared to fade. He's just very confident. And regardless of how tricky this course is, Brooks plays well at every US Open course. I can't remember if it was the first US Open, but it was Pinehurst. It was the trickiest course they've played in like over a decade. He was top 5 there. He's not going to get intimidated just because it's LA Country Club. He's going to play well. I think that, a lot of people, if you're starting with Scheffler, going Scheffler Brooks is going to be a very, very kind of unique start because I don't think many people will do that. So just in terms of like tournaments where I would be thinking Brooks. I just don't think a lot of people are just giving him enough respect because of the event. I just think people get to these events and they try to do the whole like macro, I'm going to dive into the course and this doesn't make sense. It's the US Open. It's Brooks Koepka. Give him some respect. So that's kind of how I'm looking at those two guys. I just can't. Cantlay makes a good contrarian argument too. I'm done with Cantlay and Xander and majors, to be honest. Like the price here is, I mean, he's above Hovland. I don't have much to say. Victor is really interesting this week. I think there's actually a bit of a solid fade argument because of how hot he's getting and how popular he's going to be at that price. But at the same time, I'm not going to say anything bad about my guy. He's been playing great. And if you want to use him, just jam him in. Just take the same argument as Scheffler. Get your fill and make some moves other spaces.
Yeah. Again, you have to preface everything you say up here with the guys are incredible. Like I'm gonna fade Hovland. I may have a small amount. There's no way I get over, and it's not for any other reason than I like everybody else. And Cantlay, I'm really hoping is going to creep down there. I think he's the lost guy relative to the range, just because how can he not be in some regards? Him and Rahm, but every combination, I'm going to try to get some Scheffler. I'm too scared to full fade him. And I think it's honestly at this point, even for me, and I do that a lot, like, how can you? It's ridiculous. This is not normal golf for a guy this good. So I really ironically think that the top isn't worth spending a ton of time on relative to it, just because we know how good these guys are. They're all going to be owned. It's almost just kind of choose your best available while knowing Scheffler is going to be the highest owned. But the second part of the top tier has Rory at 9.9, Xander at 9.6, Max Homa, Morikawa and his back, Jordan Spieth types. You mentioned Xander. I'm sucked back in. I know he's got the US Open pedigree. He's a dominating figure at US Opens, but he never wins. Another California guy. So how do you compare him to Rory, to Homa, and these guys?
I mean, I definitely don't hate Xander as much as I, sort of dislike Cantlay. I mean, he's obviously a lot cheaper this week, but it is going to come with some ownership. I really think though that again, the guy who's grown on me the most this week, and the guy I'm feeling most bullish on right now, is actually Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
It really is. Like I everyone is so down on him, and it just feels like why? I mean, he's 3 top 10s in a row. It just feels like whatever this guy does right now is like not good enough for everyone. I don't know. It feels like everyone's been brainwashed by Phil Mickelson or something, like it just gets this weird vibe about him right now that people are just going out of their way to find negative stuff about him. And when you just look at it objectively, he's coming in with about the same projection for our ownership on Stokastic as Xander Schauffele. I love the fact that he came to this course, said, I'm not doing any media this week.
Yeah.
And he's just out there working on his game. And with Rory, he putted well last week. He's driving it well. His around the green game is pretty much always fine, and it's been fine. He's just kind of sharpened the wedges up a little bit. I mean, like there's one thing we're just looking for, and I don't think it's that big a part. We've seen this with Rory before where he's figuring it out, and then it gets figured out. I don't know, man. I'm really big on Rory this week. That's where I would go. To me, Schauffele and Homa, they're fine to mix in. I would definitely, if I had the room, probably lean Schauffele. But I think that after Rory, I'm fine just kind of bypassing and dipping down into the low 9s.
Yeah, I mean, Rory, the thing that's always frustrating with Rory is when you gain 6 strokes off the tee, all that does is allow you more wedge opportunities. And if you can't hit your wedges, you're ruining the amazing drives. What's the difference? Like you have to put it on the green. But having said that, it's wedges. He should be able to figure that out. Everything else is working. He's a more than a fair price. I want to kind of bring it back as we work down. We got a couple questions on this. So there's a lot of talk because this is rotational, for people who are just joining us, maybe not super familiar. The US Open is not played at one place like the Masters, and LA Country Club is, you're talking like Walker Cups and stuff. There's really nothing to go off of. How much do you care about California splits, UCLA? I went to Cal. I'm Max Homa. I'm Xander. Like, I think it helps, but at the same time, this course doesn't strike me as pure California in some ways. So I don't know what to do with that. I think it helps, but I don't think it's the end all be all. Do you have a take on that?
You can use it as a tiebreaker or something. Yeah. I mean, I know there was a question in that about, John Rahm, and I do, again, I'm not necessarily writing it off. I mean, I think that there's a style of golfer who this fits, but I don't necessarily know if it's like the West Coast golfer, like the typical. Like I almost look at this as more of like an Australian Open course. It's just got that natural feel to it. So I think that there are players who play well on the West Coast who are going to fit it well. I mean, obviously, guys bringing up in the chat, like, yeah, Homa's definitely shot like 63 here. And I'm not like trying to offshoot the experience factor, but I just don't like a golfer because he played here. Like, I mean, it's going to be a US Open setup. Like this course is going to play a lot differently, right? So experience is nice, but like realistically, I think this is going to be, as you mentioned, it's not Riv. Like it's really not Riviera. It's not anything close to Torrey Pines. It's definitely not Pebble Beach. As I mentioned, like the closest comparison seems to me like would almost be like a little bit Chambers Bay or something in between. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It's not like your traditional West Coast setting, but I do think it does favor a bit of a, like the West Coast style of golfer. And to me, again, it's just going to bring in more players with a little bit more creativity. So I almost look to guys who have done well in Opens or like in other places like Australia as kind of offbeat as that sounds. But I think the Aussies actually do have a good shot this week. We'll get to them in a sec, but I actually think that this course may benefit them more than anyone. So
I agree. And this is where skill set stacks, E-time stacks, some of those stacks can really help you. I don't see any major win splits or anything like that. But again, I'm going to reference what Brian showed us, the power of those tools. When I was playing around with our sim tools today and I was running some of those things, you see it there with some of these builds, the potential success of omitting the 10K guys and going double up. Not, I'm fine with that. Like I'm a little higher on Xander than you are, but like Rory Xander 1-2 to me is such a good start, and one that I'm really exploring.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, Xander as a second in a balance stack absolutely makes a lot of sense. Or if you're triple dipping into the 9 range or something like that. Yeah, I'd have no problem with that. So certainly balanced builds. I mean, I hate it when you say it, but like you can build however you want this week because the salaries are basically letting you do whatever you want. And again, just like that's fine. I mean, you got to play what you can get. But I almost think that when the salaries get like this, it's almost better to go balanced because I feel like people don't do it as much for one thing, but also like everyone just kind of moves up a notch where, you know, typically when you're doing a balance, okay, you give up a little bit of win equity, but you have a bit better floor. But like when it's a US Open or when it's a major and the salaries are this soft, those balance builds all of a sudden have a little bit more win equity in them, in my opinion, and they become a little bit more powerful. So yeah, I think it's actually a good time to do that because we got some higher owned players and just going balance like that, it'll just probably just distribute your ownership a little bit more even.
All right. You can give me a yay or nay if you want. Feel free to expand a little. You worried about Morikawa's back?
I'm just worried about Morikawa, like in general.
Worried about his putter? I'm not worried about his back. I'm just worried about his putter a little.
It's funny because the first lineup I made this week, it had like the perfect amount to put Morikawa in. And I'm like, you know, the ownership here is going to be like 3%. I'm fine with it. Morikawa is just a risk assessment. That's all it is. If you are fine with the guy who could potentially pull out on Friday, who, you know, has been looked really good in spots, but also if you're fine with the guy who's got the injury risk, the putter risk, but also has as much upside as anyone here, play him because he's going to be like 3% owned and there's going to be a lot of leverage. But if you just don't want to tackle that, it's fine too, because again, we got the major, everyone's at a good price.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
it's a risk tolerance issue. There's no doubt. Now, to give people, again, one of the many things, so no matter what tools you're using, the cornerstones of them are projections and ownership. You have to have that. And obviously, that's what we are using here at Stokastic, like everybody else. Sub 10% for Morikawa, I think, is pretty reasonable, but he is getting up there more and more. I thought there was a chance he'd be 1% if he was still like ailing, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So you got to know what you're getting into. Let's finish out this range and then move down. Fitzy, Spieth, your boy Cam Smith from the Sand Belt. He's probably him and Leishman playing out in Melbourne, whatever they do.
Right.
That and those types. I actually have some Cam Smith, which is a rarity for me.
Oh yeah, you got to get the magic putter going today.
He's gonna putt on the par 3. You heard it here first. He's gonna step up to the 75-yarder and just pull putter, probably ace it. Just for reasons.
I mean, like realistically, I mean, I know people have been saying this all week, but it really does. I mean, this should be like a really fun course for a guy like Cam Smith. I mean, he can pretty much hit it anywhere off the tee. Not anywhere, but you get my point. He's got the wide fairways to work with. Everyone's going to be missing some of these greens come Sunday because the greens are so firm. And there's going to be some holes where wedges are in play. He's just such a good wedge player that, you know, even if Cam Smith makes a couple bogeys here and there, like he's the perfect kind of player where he might just make 3 birdies in a row to make it up on this course. So I think he's going to be potentially a little bit volatile, but yeah, I got nothing but good vibes about him. And the other thing about Cam Smith, just from a recent form perspective, he looks like a guy who's like a little bit peeved off right now that he's not getting as much recognition as he probably would be if he's on the PGA Tour. You know, Brooks won the major. Scotty's getting all the number one. Like Cameron Smith was the toast of the town less than a year ago. And it just feels like this is maybe a spot for him to come in and remind people, like, I own the greens here. Like I am the final boss of that area. So yeah, Cameron Smith at 9,000. This is definitely a go spot.
Let's talk about the upper mid-range. Again, they bleed into each other. There's no real difference. But when we go to the mid-range and you've got Hatton and Finau, JT is a fascinating. We could spend the whole show just talking about Justin Thomas. He's not going to be popular. Millie type upside. Miscut equity through the roof. Hideki, Shane Lowry. That if you go up top, maybe you omit the 9s and you pepper the 8s. What do you see in the upper 8K range?
The upper 8K range, I see a lot of unknowns, I guess. I see Tyrrell Hatton, and then I see a lot of unknowns. But even we'll throw Hatton in there because, I mean, who the hell knows what this guy's going to do on this course? I know it's a new Hatton, and he's extremely solid this year, but it's always something lurking with that guy. You never know what's going to set it off. So this whole range to me, Lowry can't putt. Hideki actually looks like probably the most solid play, and I do think that's probably where people, when they fall in this range, will go. Just looking at our ownership percentages, he's definitely projecting, although people definitely going to be going back to Finau as well. And I would probably prefer Tony. Again, you come back to the West Coast narrative. He's been fine out here. I do think that, if this course plays a little bit tougher than we think, that's probably going to be good for him. But I'll be dead honest. Like, I don't really love this range. Like, I am also okay looking at this range and just being like, let's just move on. Let's try and avoid this if possible. Justin Thomas will definitely be lower owned. Hideki to me is a fine play at that price, but I don't really have a lot of love for Tony right now. I'm not sure if this is going to be it. Maybe the course jives with him, but Lowry, I just don't think is putting well enough to compete at a US Open. And I just don't really like this range.
There are certainly concerns. Hideki, I like Hideki. I do like the spot for him. I just think you get some different types of courses to me suit what he can do. He doesn't really care. It's really hard. His irons are good. His putter comes and goes when it's great. Like when Decky putts, he putts. Mm-hmm. When he doesn't, he doesn't. And you're gonna have to take that risk. Shane Lowry truly, I made the mistake of thinking he could flip his putter last week, and he just can't right now.
He is playing well though. Like, I mean, if we're gonna give Scheffler that much love, like Shane Lowry is like a poor man's version of that. I mean, he is tee to green. There's nothing wrong. Like I mean, if you could get, again, and here, let's dive into the Stokastic ownership projections. And guys, if you're not a member, I mean, these ownership projections will just make your life so much easier. But Hideki, I mean, Lowry is over half the percentage. Lowry's at 5%. Hideki's at 12%. I would lean Lowry in that case for a big field. Again, if it's a single entry, maybe different, but putting together 1 milli, I would be okay with Lowry. I would. He's played well in a lot of different conditions. And tee to green, it's fine. You just like an average putting week here is all we need. I know that's asking a lot right now, but it's true.
Yeah. And there's a lot of guys like that. I think for me, biggest unknowns in the range are Finau and JT. They're not playing well, but these are guys that have been chalk at majors at higher prices for a long time, with just better form. Hatton obviously sets up the best. I want to open it up to the bottom of the range though. Sungjae, DJ, Burns, Day, Cam Young, who I said some crazy stuff about Cam Young that doesn't sound that crazy right now. Now, what about DJ though? I think he's a very interesting, you mentioned little Chambers Bay action. How do you look at the bottom of the 8s?
So yeah, bottom of the 8s. I mean, like, it's hard to really, I mean, Dustin just sticks out like a sore thumb here. Dustin is another guy who's just played well at basically every US Open venue that we've had over the last decade. Pinehurst, Chambers Bay, Shinnecock, Oakmount, where he won. Like, it's just going to be a positive setup for Dustin Johnson. I don't think you need to overthink Dustin Johnson. I don't even really, like, I haven't looked at his ownership percentage because if Dustin Johnson fits in my lineup, I'm using him. And it's really not egregious at all. It's going to be around 12% right now, which I think is far too low. You're telling me that he's the same price as Sungjae, Burns, and Jason Day, who's, Jason Day, I actually have a little interest in, but he's just underpriced. And to me, he should be pushing 20% here. So, and he's not, which I like. Burns and Sungjae, I just don't know what to do. I'd be okay going to Sungjae here. I really would. He's a really good all-around player. He can get hot with his putter. I'd be okay with it. Like, I really am. I still have respect for his game. He's played well in a lot of different settings too. I feel like for a US Open, this could be a good venue for him. Absolutely. That's where I would go over him and Burns. certainly maybe you could pair Dustin and Sungjae double dip in this range. That'll give you a unique build for sure. Day is interesting, but I don't feel the need to force anything. And Cam Young, as you mentioned, I tried to maybe jump on the train there, but like, I don't really know what's going on with this guy. He's beast moding off the tee. The approach game is now regressing along with his putter. And now we're coming to a mousetrap of a US Open course. There's really nothing to say positive. So
Cam Young has got all the talent in the world. I know he can do it, but
yeah,
I'm gonna say the same thing I keep saying. Right now, he's a one-tool. He's an elite driver of the ball, and everything else is not even close to being an elite player's portfolio.
Just to put the cherry on the top of Cam Young, when we came to the Open last year, he was projecting for like 2% ownership. He's projecting with the same ownership on our site anyways as Dustin Johnson right now. So just let that make your decision for you, in my opinion.
Work it down even more, because part of the reason that Dustin Johnson isn't getting to crazy amounts or anything, because our man Tommy Fleetwood is kind of taking that bullet for us. He's going to be real popular coming off the second place finish. He's the old 7,900. So people like me will say, well, he's less than 8K, as if that means something. And then you've got him and Rose as the chalk anchors in that upper sevens. You've got pivots with Megamind Triple Genius pivot as Neiman. Tom Kim is there. We'll get to Bryson in a second, but talk to me about specifically Fleetwood and Rose, who are going to be extremely popular.
Yeah, Rose is Rose seems to be just on a skyward trajectory to being in like a lot of lineups this week, which concerns me a little bit. I mean, he's playing really good, but like what we've seen from Justin Rose, this year is that, he plays well on certain types of tracks, like the Canadian Open, the RBC Heritage. I mean, this is like the big boy expansive US Open track now. I mean, to me, it's like, I have no problem just like not full fading. You have to full fade him in like a 100-person lineup, obviously, but I'd definitely be underweight Justin Rose just from a pure leverage standpoint. He's in a range where the names underneath him, I mean, you can make a case some of these people should be like more expensive than him. So it's just really an ownership thing. If everyone is just going to pile on Justin Rose there, throw in some Corey Connors, Neiman.
Oh, yeah.
Just go down to a guy like Adam Scott. Like I don't really think Justin Rose is going to like this course. I'll be dead honest. I don't think this is a good setup for Justin Rose.
Interesting.
I think he's a guy at this point in his career. He wants just very simple golf. He wants fairways. He wants pinpoint greens, and then he just wants, shorter putts. You're not going to get any of that this week. I think that this is not going to be good for him, to be honest. I'm definitely a fade candidate for me.
And I want to open that up because, first of all, I think that's a real good stand worth making. I'm going to have some Rose. It's not a crazy good play in my book. I think you like him less than me. But some of that, of what you said, I think could be applicable to Bryson, who is definitely getting it together.
Yep.
But Bryson has seemed, and I had a couple of sharp people mention this to me as well today, like he's got his plan. And then you get on a course that's just awkward. There's weird stuff on this course, and I really think that can hurt Bryson at times. He's going to be very popular at 76, and I just look at him, and I wonder a little about, if he can take it apart. He gained 7.5 strokes off the tee at the PGA. Dominant. I worry a little about this course for Bryson if he's popular, and he's going to be.
So this is a perfect transition into a little bit of betting talk, because to me, you look at this, the most undervalued player to me is Bryson DeChambeau. If you can get him at like 50-1, even like 45-1, because of the event. It's a US Open. And regardless of where we are or what we think the course is going to play, it's going to be a US Open setup. It's going to be long. It's going to favor big hitters, like basically regardless. Right. So it's advantage Bryson, and he's playing well, and he's got the recent form, and he just gained 7 strokes off the tee at the PGA. He should not be double Cantlay and Schauffele in the betting odds. The first thing I did this week was bet Bryson, but everything you're saying is also extremely correct. And I think it transitions to the fact that if you just want peace of mind with Bryson, just get a piece of him in the betting market and just fade him in DFS, because I don't know what he's going to do with this course. No idea. He could be one of the guys who I wake up tomorrow and he's at 80, and it won't really shock me.
Not
but you
at
know
all.
what? I invested at like 40 or 50 to 1, and I don't feel bad about it. And I have no regrets. I will have regrets, Ben, if he's at 6 under tomorrow and it's a
don't have
US
the
Open
outright.
course and I didn't bet him at 50 to 1 because it's like so obvious. So that's my advice on Bryson. I absolutely agree. Like for DFS, he's just getting too hot. And you want to get a slice, sure, but just, you know, the betting market's out there. I think he's just a great guy to just bet in the outright market. He's either going to have it all and you're going to be real happy with that number, or it's probably going to go south quick. So
That's perfect for betting.
well, like he has got it together.
Oh, he does. It's not that. It's
Yeah.
just simply, this is a guy, I've seen this time and time again at Muirfield Village, at other places. If it gets off the track, there's no like, oh, he comes in 24th. He didn't have it. He comes in 130th or he wins. Like he's such a volatile guy that you're getting so much miscut equity on a popular player that it's worthwhile to roll the dice in spots. I don't want to go backwards because we're going to get through a lot of players, but were you surprised that JT was also like 50 to 1? I know he's playing bad, but I bet him at 50 to 1 just because I had to.
It's pretty wild. It's a pretty wild number, man. I mean, like, holy,
50
like
to 1.
That's another one where, you know, you might just want to sprinkle some cash, because like if JT gets in the mix on Sunday and you're like, my God, like that guy was 50 to 1 pre-event, you're going to be having a little bit of nightmares Sunday night. But, you know, obviously you can't bet everyone either, but no, I agree. No. Like I'm surprised. At no point did I ever think JT would get up to 50 to 1 for this event. It's definitely gone a little bit too far in that direction.
All right, we worked down. Ricky Fowler, Patrick Reed, Wyndham Clark, Siwoo Kim. These are names that people are discussing, people are interested in. Ricky is another really popular play.
Yep.
I see these are the chalk options. Who are you in? Who are you out? Who are you indifferent to? So
it's funny because this whole range, it's chalky for two reasons, right? Like it's chalky because we got Scotty Scheffler at like 11.5, and then it's chalky because there's just so many good players here. But in a way, like all this popularity, I think is kind of going to thin everyone out to the point where you maybe don't have to get, like, you don't really have to go off the player you like. I mean, I think there's going to be a couple extreme examples. Like, I think Fowler, unfortunately, is really going to be up there. He is probably the one player where you could probably make a case, you know, unless you're doing something a little bit more original at the top, like you may want to stay away. But, you know, if you like Theegala, play Theegala. I mean, if you like Wyndham Clark, play Wyndham Clark. My preference here is just in terms of a player. Like I just like Adam Scott this week. Again, like US Opens, you know, we do see the kind of late 20, early 30-year-olds win, but it's a little bit of a sneaky veterans event in some ways. And Adam Scott right now, he is absolutely bombing the ball off the tee, like just annihilating it. And he's not going to have any problem with the length of this course. He's one of the top players. He's top 20 in 3-putt avoidance. The putter's been working for almost every week. I mentioned the Aussie connection. He played well at Chambers Bay and Pinehurst. You know, two kind of just trickier, quirkier courses. I really like Scott this week. Like, you're looking for like a top 40 bet too, like something you just put down a couple extra units on. Oh man, I mean, Scott at plus 100 to top 40 here, love it. So I really like him in this range. I think Theegala is interesting for GPPs. Ricky, oh God, I want to like Ricky here so much, but I don't know. I don't really, honestly, still don't even know what I'm going to do with Ricky. It sucks that he's so popular. I don't know why he's this popular, but he just is. I prefer Scott if I'm just putting those two up, but you know, it's fine. You can get some Ricky in your life. I'm not going to say anything bad about him because he's been playing really well, but he is one of those players this week who I could see, if he's just like a little off the tee, I could see Ricky kind of being one of those, unfortunately, those chalk bombs that just wreck people's weeks. But I hope he does well.
I think he's going to play all right. He's just over-owned. And two things can be true. He can be an objectively good a solid player and set up well and still be over-owned. So I think that's what you're getting with Ricky. The reason this range is getting a lot of ownership is what you alluded to. You can have like 3 of these guys in your lineup with a Scheffler, and people are doing that. So you see that, and then it drops off a little bit to get to Siwoo. Mito is super popular. Denny McCarthy is popular as well, coming from Memorial. I'm making a stand against Mito. It's not because I hate him as a player. It's not because I think he's a terrible setup. But you're talking about 5 or 6 pivots that are 1/10 the ownership right next to him. If you play Nick Taylor, Seamus, Keith Mitchell, Victor Perez, Harris English, Cam Davis, Tom Hoagie, Gary Woodland, even to a lesser extent, minute ownership off a guy like Mito, and I don't think they're that much worse of plays.
No, they're definitely not. Mito is definitely underpriced this week.
Yes.
He is unfortunately surprising. I didn't really think he was going to get this popular, but a couple sharper people pointed out earlier in the week. I pointed out earlier in the week too that Mito was underpriced and that he's available at a good price. But I think the thing about this range is like Siwoo Kim's down, like you mentioned, there's other names here. I don't think you should play. You've got to be really careful when you start stacking the 75 to 72 range, because a couple of these guys are going to be off the charts. And I don't want to put Siwoo and Mito in the same lineup, really. I just don't want, I think it's going to be too much. And I'll be dead honest, I prefer Siwoo. Like if I have to pick between those two, I'm taking Siwoo Kim, because I think Siwoo Kim is playing some just really, really good golf right now. So impressed with what he did at the Memorial. He made like 2 double bogeys on the weekend. Just thought he was done. Like, okay, he's at like -2 again. He's done. Makes like 3 birdies right away, both times. And he is playing really confident. If his putter shows up, even if it doesn't, he may just tee to green, just may hold him around. So I really like Siwoo. I definitely don't hate Mito, but another player you might just think about betting and just get a little bit of peace of mind or top 10 or something. So yeah, this range has a lot of interesting pivots though. I think that's kind of where it starts to get interesting, because you brought up Woodland, who has been the tee to green darling all season and doesn't seem to be getting much heat, which I like. And then you've got guys underneath him too. How about Ryan Fox? I think this could be a really good. We're talking about guys from Australia and stuff. Ryan Fox, a New Zealander, he's big off the tee, and he's kind of like a mini Wyndham Clark. I mean, he putts really well. He's really figured out his putter later in his career. It's led him to some later career wins, and he's a really good driver of the golf ball. He's long and straight. He's probably not going to get in a ton of trouble here. I think he's a really good play at 7,100.
There are definite options down here. People are going to gravitate towards Russell Henley as well, who I think makes sense. But this is where, if you're building for large fields, GPPs, you've got real pivots with real upside. And it's just, for me, it's kind of just know what you're getting into. Like if you want off the tee, there are guys. If you want putting specialists, there are guys. If you want all around players, you're not going to find them because they wouldn't be 7,100. But let's work down a couple more names. We'll get into the salary savers. We'll build our lineup as we bounce on that. We'll go a little over tonight because we were talking about the sim tools again. All our tools, we have different stuff for different players, whether it's a lineup generator. If you're saying, that's kind of a little above what I play. I just want to sim, put in a little input and get 20 lineups blasted out to me for a couple bucks a week. We have that. You're taking it to the next level. The sim tools, obviously ownership projections, everything is in the description. We want everyone to be part of the Stokastic family, from no matter what package or what tools you value. That's always been the vision here. So I just want to give people a shout out there, because you don't need, not everything is for everyone. And that's something we strongly believe in, except Sergio Garcia. He might be for all of us this week because he's flat 7. He qualified. He's strong off the tee. He is an important piece for me this week, and I feel real scary about that.
Oh boy, are you serious?
It could be bad.
You're going to Sergio?
I really am. I just
has
feel
Liv
like
gotten to you, Ben?
It's absurd too, because like Neiman, Sergio, and then I don't like Mito. He's probably the only one that'll do good. Honestly, him and Grillo at flat 7, famous last words, I think are reasonable targets as we work down.
I'm trying to think about Sergio's. I mean, past Sergio definitely didn't like these weird style events, but I mean, you're talking about a veteran now. I mean, I mean, I could see it. I mean, but I can see Sergio is just so talented. He's just such a brain dead, moron on the course sometimes, unfortunately.
He's
That
not a
he
smart
just gets in
person.
he gets in his own way. I actually really like Sergio. I do. I was so happy when he won his Masters, but I mean, look, again, we're talking about all these players that we like and we're talking about, they're all gonna be popular. Like when you're looking down here, you've got to think a little bit outside the box. And Sergio is really strong off the tee. He's been that way the whole late half of his career. So it could absolutely happen. Phil just finished second at the Masters, so certainly Sergio could do something here. I like Minwoo Lee here.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a shot. I'm actually not sure. I know he's been getting a little bit of buzz, but yeah, he's not pumping too hard here. I mean, under 8% owned in our projections. He's a really good, strong putter. He's great around the greens. He's pretty solid off the tee. He's just, the irons can come and go for him, but we saw him pop up at the Players. I do not have a problem with Minwoo. And just looking at the 7K fly, I know some guys mentioned Eric Cole. I just think it's a little much. I mean, again, we've seen Eric Cole pop on some tricky little par 70s. I think this is just going to be a little bit too big for him, but he's certainly what you call gritty, so I don't hate it. And then the Luke, people bringing up Luke List. I gotta admit, I do not hate the Luke List call that much.
Oh.
He's his around the green game it comes and goes, but like it's actually really good. He's actually very good around the greens when he's in form. So we've seen a bit of form from him lately. I actually really do not hate that call. I think both List and Sergio are those kind of 1%er guys. You can definitely drip in.
Luke List putting is as bad as he really is. Scheffler, very, very light, like O'Doul Scheffler. It's
non-alcoholic Scheffler.
Yeah, non-alcoholic Scheffler. All right. If you go up top and maybe you double north of 10, or you have like 3 in the 9s and you want someone else, you got to go into the 6s. And there are names. Patrick Rogers is down here, and Hadwin is down here, and Kitayama and Shank is playing really good. Some of the Euros are down here. How low will you go, and what names to round out the lineups this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think Patrick Rogers is a guy I know. I mean, I think you like him as well.
I do.
He'll definitely have a little bit of ownership attached, but he's played well all season. He's strong off the tee. He won't get in a ton of trouble here, and he's just a really good putter. I don't think he's ever missed a cut in a US Open either. It's a good event for Patrick Rogers because he's long off the tee and he can putt. I think it's fine to use him. I have a little bit of interest in Taylor Pendrith. I'm not going to lie. Taylor Pendrith played really good in US Open qualifying. I think he was a little burned out last week, but he's played a little bit better. So someone to think about a little bit there. And Kitayama, I know his results are a little bit all over the place, but he's just a really good player, and he's underrated at 6,800. So no problem there. I'm going to stay away from Shank. Putnam, I could actually see Putnam getting across making a cut here. I mean, he's playing well. He's a really good putter. But Shank, Putnam, these guys do not have much length. I think they're going to be bothered by how big the course is. Meronk is interesting. Actually, Meronk and Lucas Herbert are interesting. Herbert made the cut at the PGA. He's a little bit of that Taylor Pendrith, Patrick Rogers archetype. He's got some length, and he can really light it up with the putter. I think Herbert is actually another guy you could just think about as like a 0.5% player.
He's definitely that type of. You see him pop up in weird spots, big time places. He has a 13th at a PGA, 15th at an Open. He's made the cut at a US Open before because he's got an elite short game at times. He can work in and out of trouble, and that's half the battle. Like, you're going to screw up. Can you avoid double? Can you avoid triple? Like, can you have 6 feet for bogey and make it? That goes a long way at a US Open, and some of these guys are better at that than others. Like a Thomas Peters.
Look, Mackenzie Hughes, 6,700, was in the final pairing at the 2021 US Open. Why? Because of what Ben just said. He sinks every 10-footer.
Yeah, it goes a long way in these type of events. There's something to that. Last guy that I really want to bring up, because again, everyone's 1% down here. I don't think you want to get crazy. What do you make of Sam Bennett, who we could look back on and say Sam Bennett is like, I remember when Rahm was in some of these majors as like an amateur and he was like 6,800. Not even, I kid from Arizona State.
No.
Sam Bennett, obviously we have a super small sample size, but he was awesome at Augusta, played at Memorial, played in Canada, and he was fine. He was actually pretty damn solid at Oakdale. I think that he's playable. I really do. I'm not saying I need to play him, but I think he can hold his own. And there is a chance that Sam Bennett is just actually better than everyone in this range.
It's funny because I thought you were going to mention David Poog or Pooge or whatever his name is.
Oh, that guy.
That guy. The live version of Sam Bennett, I guess.
That's right.
But Bennett is he's really strong off the tee, which again we like. The putter was fine last week, so. Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. I mean, it's a U.S. Open, it's his first time, but you have to obviously at some point you have to give this guy a little bit of respect. I mean, he's playing really good golf, and I mean, when we get down here, like I mentioned how soft it is, but when you get down to it does thin out really quickly in the 6K range. Like it's really soft in the 7K range, but it's like there's definitely tiers of golfer this week, and the 6K is much different than like the high 6K, the mid 6K. So I'm with you on Bennett. I think that in this range, I mean, unless you want to go up to Podrick at 66, who's actually like kind of interesting to me, I think Bennett would probably be the preferred play. But I do have some interest in Pooch, as well. I mean, it's a very good amateur. He's actually played okay in the live in the last couple starts. And, like at 6,500, I think he gives you a lot of the same kind of upside. But it really just is your preference here because neither of these guys are going to have any ownership. So
no, all of them. We just got asked about Roman Legas, blah, blah, blah.
Legasque or Legasque.
There's a lot of those type of Euros.
Roman's a good player. He's been really good form right now. I bet he just about won me an event. I mean, he's finished top 5 for me, so it was profitable. But in the Netherlands like last month.
Okay,
playing good. Season. I don't know if you need to go down there. I mean, 66. I mean, there's not many other names. I guess I don't hate it. He's a good player though. He was a top amateur. I don't know. I just have trouble with these Euro guys when they don't play over on the PGA and then they come over. Honestly,
there's too many of them. Yeah, that's my biggest gripe. Like he could play amazing, or it could be Larry.
It could be over before it starts.
There's so many of them. Thirsty Lawrence is here. Pablo Larrazabal is here. Yeah. Matthew Pavone is here. There's a lot of guys. Yeah. Paul Barjan. 1 will probably play good. 4 will probably miss the cut. If you're getting crazy, you're trying to win $1 million off $25. One of these guys I think is worth a look. Yeah. You don't need much though. Let's build. What do you say now? And again, if you guys are having fun, if you're enjoying it, hitting the like button really goes a long way. I know not everyone is out. Like I said, we want you guys to be part of the Stokastic family, whether it's just tuning into the shows, whether it's getting a weekly pass or a monthly pass for the ownership, whether it's using the sim tools and really taking it to the next level. All of it's great. And just being here, watching us and supporting us means the world. So hitting the like button goes a long way, and we appreciate it. Now we build $1 million lineup live on the show, just for you guys. What are we doing here? I have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, this is where like building it live is going to be really interesting because, I mean, we can go wherever we want. It doesn't even really matter who we start with. So yeah, let's start with Roman Legasque. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but it kind of matters.
Right. But it still matters. Okay. I got a couple names in mind here. I mean, I wrote them up. So I just think Cam Smith at 9K is a fine play. I just have a lot of respect for Cam Smith. I like him a lot. I think this is going to be a good US Open for him to pop up. So let's go there, 9K.
Okay. I'm going to go. We're going to have to find cheapies and we'll do that. I'm going to go to Rory. I like Rory a lot. I always do. This is a cool start. You have Rory and Cam Smith not going to be the preferred build, and we still have nearly $8,000 for 2 spots. So I like this build. Now we'll find cheapies and we're going to be okay.
And again, I mean, I'm going to keep the kind of balanced approach here. I'm going to go with Dustin Johnson. I mean, he's 8,300 and he's not even chalk. I don't. There's nothing else that needs to be said. It's a U.S. Open. He's 8,300.
Well,
really simple, really balanced. We're still at 76,
and we got quality.
We can pound that range if we want, or we can.
Adam Scott right next in this lineup, not doing anything to move the needle. Reliable, safe, just sharp, very, very good. You know, doesn't mean he can't go out and shoot 12 over, of course, but Adam Scott is just reliable in the mid range. And with 3 big names already, getting Adam Scott as your 4th man in, maybe even 5th, depending on what we do, is a very, very nice luxury.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like from here, I mean, I think that, I mean, the easy thing to do is, you know, just grab a couple guys in the 7K. I'm just doing a couple things quick. Like, I mean, we could, I think we both kind of like Si Woo, so you could go there and maybe get Fleetwood or Connors. But the other thing here has been like, we don't need to spend all our money, right?
No,
like,
not at all.
So I'm just looking up here. Like if we went really high up, oh no, we can't go that high. Never mind.
I was looking at some things. Yeah. Decky and Lucas A. Bear.
I mean, that like, again, if you're finishing this off and you're making 1 millionaire maker lineup, I would probably recommend doing something like that. You're going to have a better chance at shipping with something like that. Yeah. I was looking at maybe Ryan Fox, but then again, that kind of leaves us in a weird range where Burns, Day, Cam Young, but you don't have to spend all your money either.
No, we can
throw Ryan Fox in just to close this off. I'm going to put Ryan Fox in. I'm going to let you close off however you want. I think you can pretty much do. The nice thing about this too is if you like Si Woo, put him in because you got 800 left. No one else is going to have this. This is not going to be a duped lineup.
No, and I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is I'm obviously choosing best available, and for me, it's Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah.
And I tell people this all the time. You make a lineup like this. If Tommy Fleetwood was 8,200, you would say, "Oh, perfect! It works perfectly," and you would click in, not think anything else. But he's 79, and you're like, "Oh, it doesn't really work." It doesn't matter at all.
You can't take the money home. So
nope. I wish you could. Yeah, I do want Noren in that lineup. Noren might be a genius play, more likely a terrible play. Perfect way. Has anyone brought up the Uber driver? No. I'll save that story for the Michael Block book of things that shouldn't happen that probably will. No Uber drivers in my lineup besides like Luke List, but yeah, I'm not playing Henson. I don't know who that is.
Driver, Luke List.
Yeah, that's too much. There we have it, friends. Again, appreciate you guys. I just dropped, if anyone's interested, that link for the Sims right in chat for you guys to click it on the way out. If you want to see more, watch the videos, read the articles, and see what's going on here at Stokastic. But let's have a great US Open. Let's win some money and try to finish the PGA season in style. Not that we're going anywhere. We still got another major after this. We're going to bounce out of here tonight. Follow me at Twitter, at JazzRazDFS, at The Fantasy Grind. We both got a ton of content up on our Twitters. So we want to stay up to date and just have some fun on social media where everyone is just always friendly and always positive. It's just a really good place to be, or not. For Jordan Klein behind the glass, appreciate you, my friend, and for Brian earlier. So for Team Stokastic, we're bouncing out of here. Good luck and joy.
Yeah,
see you next week.